Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Spy Family, episode 5. So, yeah, another episode, and last time we had our interview at the school at Eden, and it went about as well as you could have expected. The Forgers were prepared for a lot, but things still got out of hand. But it was very elegant with it. What wasn't elegant was one of the housemasters, the son of the former headmaster of the school, who was appointed to his position out of nepotism, and who was an absolute piece of shit. The way the questions he asked, the way he asked them, the way he was treating Anya, like, he blatantly made her cry. And you saw how both Yor and Lloyd got over that. Like, their protective parental instincts really kicked in. Which I don't even think they fully realize happened. Based on the aftermath we saw when they were back at home and all, I don't think they fully realized it, either in the moment or afterwards, that they cared that much about Anya by this point, that they were that protective over her, that they were that pissed at what was being said, and the fact that she was made to cry. And mind you, they might see it as just like, oh, I do to some degree care about this kid because I care about kids. Because just saying something like that is just fucked up no matter what kid it is. And yes, that is true. But it's also undeniable that they very much have grown to care for Anya. And Anya cares for them. The family has come together. And it's only going to get more apparent, I guess pun intended, as time goes on. So, yeah. But based on our favorite elegant housemaster, and the impressions that the other one had as well, even with what might end up being demerits, points lost against them for the one piece of shit housemaster, they'll probably still get in. Anya will probably still be accepted. It'll probably all work out. Especially since based on the ending and everything, it like shows school stuff within the ending and all. And yeah, it's like I've heard that there is a portion of this with the school, so yeah, it's not that hard to tell that that's going to happen. The question more comes into play with what's going to happen within that, what's going to happen in the school, and more importantly, is that portion of things going to detract from the rest of this? Because while I like Anya, I don't want random school shenanigans to take away from the cool spy thriller side of this anime. The comedic side is fun. I love it. But the reason this anime works so well is because of the balance. It balances out the comedic gag side and the spy thriller side, and both are needed to make this series work. You can't just have one or the other, because then it would just be too one-sided. It would be too one note. It would get old. This series is becoming one of my current favorites. I have become obsessed with it, honestly. And it's because of this. It's because of this balance. So I'm really hoping that with this school stuff, they don't take away from the spy thriller stuff. We need that to continue. I don't want the school stuff to completely take over. Again, there needs to be a balance. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Um, and yeah, I don't know where it's going to go, though. I don't know any spoilers, so we're just going to kind of have to see. Um, but all of that being said, let's just get into it. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this episode, very much like episode 3, was more of like, the cute family doing cute things episode, with some of that spy thriller mixed in. But more so than with episode 3 in that regard. This is kind of what I mean by blending the two sides of this series. This series literally blended them really well by combining the cutesy, fun comedy stuff by having Anya want to do this role play fun with her parents, and it combined it with the spy thriller stuff by having the role play be a spy mission for the spy to rescue the princess based off of Anya's favorite television series. So yeah, that's fantastic. And all of this after she had gotten into Eden Academy. Though she wasn't in the original group. She got in on the waiting list. She was put at the top of the waiting list and was allowed entry when someone dropped out, basically. Which apparently happens every year, which is surprising. I mean, I guess that kind of thing could happen for many reasons, especially if these kids are like the children of like politicians and just big names in general. There could be a lot of reasons that could happen. But with an academy as prestigious as Eden is, you would think that that would not happen as often. So it's a little surprising in that regard. But either way, they get in, everyone celebrates, and Yor gets just absolutely drunk. And it's like, I don't really like. I don't encourage getting drunk. I'm actually very against that. If you want to do it and if you can do it safely, okay. But I don't encourage it. I don't get drunk personally. I know my limits, and so I tend to. When I do drink, I tend to not get anywhere near my limits. But in terms of not just anime, but media in general, it tends to be pretty funny a lot of times when a character gets drunk. So just from a, not encouraging it, but I do enjoy it in a lot of media, and this is no exception. Yor is absolutely adorable when drunk. Like, she's, like, outside of when she was, like, fighting Lloyd and everything, for the role play, which I think she still somehow knew it was a role play at that point. Like, that was still getting through to her. She was just playing a role at that time. But she, outside of that, she's just kind of goofy, just laughing and smiling and just kind of like bobbing back and forth and stuff. And it's like, that's a lot of times how a lot of characters are shown when drunk in a series. It's just, they're just kind of goofy. And that's my favorite depiction of it, because it's obviously not harmful, it's obviously not dangerous when they're like that, at least not as much so. um Especially because usually it's not like they're shown like driving or anything while they're like that. It's just they're just like goofily hanging around and whatnot and laughing, hiccuping sometimes. So that's probably my favorite depiction. Obviously very different for real life, but Yor is absolutely adorable like that. She's just so freaking cute. And when we do see her start to fight Lloyd, it is really badass. Like, obviously we know Lore can fight, but even when drunk, she can fight extremely well. Like, up until the point where she passed out, like, she was still really going at it. And yeah, part of that is also because Lloyd was not expecting it. If he had been expecting it, he probably would have been able to handle her without too much issue. She definitely wasn't at her best. But the fact that she could still fight that well while drunk is really impressive and indicative of her actual skills. And this is actually, I think, the first time we've really seen her skills, like, really in action. We saw in episode 2, we saw her kill a bunch of people, but it was kind of off screen. We didn't actually see the action. And in episode 3, we saw her take a little more action. We saw her, like, jump off down the side of that hill and everything. But again, it's just like, we didn't really get to see too much there. This is the first time we really get to see a lot of notable active male person. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really cool in that regard. Getting to see her really fight and getting to see, like, full on what her actual skills entail. Not just the use of the weapons, but, like, actual, like, really high level fighting ability. And even though she was drunk and wasn't at her best, it's still very indicative of what her best could be. So that's still cool. I love the joke about how all the spies are just, like, fanboying and everything over fanboying, fangirling over Lloyd and everything, over Twilight and all, and they want his autograph and shit after this is all over. And they catch his Morse code, and he and Frankie explain, and they all play their roles excellently. They do what they're told. But I also love seeing, like, the spy agency just, like, agree to everything, and then at the end it's like, is there an extra zero on this bill? It's like, god damn it. I mean, something like that would be expensive as hell. Renting the castle alone would probably cost a pretty penny. Like, let's be honest. Like, yeah, there are places like that in real life you can rent, and it's not going to be cheap to do so. So that's going to cost quite a bit, plus the cost of having all the agents do all this work, the fireworks, just everything that they used for this, all the, like, the guns that fired the balls and everything, all the giant balls, just everything they did there would cost a lot. So adding it all up, it's like, yeah. But it technically was all for the mission. Anya wanted to do this, and you could kind of say she was, like, using her going to the school as leverage and all, but she's a kid. She's, like, 4 to 6 years old, somewhere in that range. And it's like, of course she's gonna fucking do that. She's a kid. Kids do shit like that. That's just how they are. And I personally don't see an issue with it. I think it's just Anya being a kid. And as I've said before, Anya's a great depiction of a kid too. Like, kids act like this. They do shit like this, just in general, not just with that specific thing. So, yeah. This was a very fun episode. It was definitely, like, kind of a celebratory episode with them getting in. I definitely want to see like how this school stuff goes. And again, I really hope that they don't take away from the spy thriller stuff because of it. I still want that balance in there. Um, but yeah, the most important thing is that Anya is kept happy because it does directly tie to the plan as much as they might not entirely want to admit it. Anya's happiness and everything completely it ties to this operation. It relies on her being able to do this at the school for Twilight to get close to Donovan. So this is important stuff, without question. Keeping Anya happy is also just important from just a regular standpoint. And you know Lloyd and Yor are going to do everything they can to keep her happy. You saw that with the last episode and how absolutely pissed they got at the dude for making her cry. And so we know that they're going to want to keep her happy anyway, just because they care about her and want her to be happy. So, yeah. And obviously the next important thing is that Yor can fucking party, and that's awesome. No, but seriously, it's like Yor was absolutely great in this episode. She is still my favorite character. I love Anya. I love Lloyd. Frankie, kind of hit or miss with me. I don't mind him. I don't dislike him, but he's not. He's a little annoying sometimes. But Yor is definitely my favorite character, without question. Though I do like Mr. Henderson too, Housemaster Henderson. I hope he does stay around, and he probably will. Because he's really cool and he's a good guy and he loves elegance. And Yor was definitely elegant in this episode. But yeah, I don't know if you could see it on here, but I'll try to show it. Yeah, I think it's very clear that I really like Yor. Have her as my lock screen wallpaper on my phone, and just the family again. Trying to, yeah, you can't really see it, but it's promotional art rather than fan art for the actual wallpaper. But the Mind is Blanking lock screen is fan art of Yor. So yeah, favorite character, loved her in this episode, but loved pretty much everything about this episode. It was really fun. It was cute. It was fun, and like I said in the reaction, that is very much the scope and scale of this. Is very much how, as a kid, you imagine it to be when you're playing stuff like this. Like when you're running around playing games and pretending and all. This is how it is in your head. Speaking from experience, because I did do this stuff. Believe it or not, I wasn't always someone who stayed inside all the time. As a kid, I did used to play outside with friends and stuff, and we did shit like that. We would do all kinds of weird shit. I was a weird kid. Kids are weird in general, and that's not an insult. Kids are weird, and it's kind of awesome. Kids will just not hold anything back, and I love that. I wish more adults did shit like that. So it's also kind of refreshing to see the adults doing shit like that in this episode. But yeah, I really had fun with this one. I really enjoyed it. Tell me in the comments below, though, what did you think of episode 5 of Spy Family? I'm just obsessed with this series. I'm just completely in love with it. I love the characters. I love the ideas, the fun, the comedy, the action. I love it all. So tell me your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.